We are live. Just 1 second. Checking if everything is in order. Changing the title, and then we can kick off this thing. It's like 5:30 where I am, so it might not be like, but I don't think there's like a time to be live. I think there's just like going live and not going live. But yeah, um, quite a lot has happened recently, right? Quite a lot has happened. We're going to start with some reactions. Um, we're going to try and explore some new tools, and we're going to learn a few stuff. And you might ask, well, you have no viewers. Why in hell are you even live? Well, a lot of this content is repurposed for YouTube, and for YouTube, I don't really have to be live. I just have to post. So yeah, that's why I can still stream on Twitch, because I know, like, even if I do not have viewers, I can still repurpose the content for YouTube, and that's basically why I do it. Um, yeah, so it's basically a good way to sort of um, create a lot of long form content. So the headline for this week was the new model by Claude. So I think we can start by reacting to that. Let's see. There's, let's see, yeah, fire sheep. So there's Gemma 4. There's quite a lot you have to react to, but I want to start with um, what is the name of this model? Lord, model. The Mythos. I think it's called Mythos. And you can explore this before you even. Yeah, so let's start by reading this. Mm. So this model has turned the internet upside down, more like the AI world upside down, or the tech world in general. So I want to see like what it is about and see. So we announced Claude Mythos preview. Let's open this preview and see. Ooh. Yep, so they're calling it Project Glasswing, and I think that's supposed to sort of like scare us. But yeah, I think this is one of the craziest models ever made, and today we're announcing Project Glasswing, a new initiative that brings together AWS, Anthropic, Apple, Broadcom, Cisco, and all these other companies in an effort to secure world's most critical software. I thought that's what OpenAI was about when it was still open, but I guess they're talking about software in general and not specifically models. And I wonder if what triggered this was when they saw what Mythos was capable of doing, or um, otherwise. We formed Project Glasswing because of capabilities we observed in a new frontier model trained by Anthropic that, oh, okay, so that's the reason, and we believe could reshape cyber security. So this is like crazy, right? Claude Mythos Preview is a general purpose unreleased frontier model that reveals start a stark fact. AI models have reached a level of coding capability where they can surpass all of the most skilled human and experience software vulnerability. Okay. No. And of course this was written by AI or not. I don't know, I just saw the M dash and I was like, has to be. Has to be. There's no way like these guys are still writing a blog post by hand. You best believe that the software that all of us rely on every day, responsible for running banking systems, medical records, logistics, power grids, has always contained bugs. That is true. Many are minor, but some are serious security flaws. If discovered, could allow cyber attackers to hijack systems, disrupt operations, and steal data. We have already seen the previous consequences of cyber attacks for important corporate networks. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum. So if this model is so good, my guess is that it can actually debug large systems, and that is one area that Opus 4.5 lacked. It's it couldn't debug code. It couldn't debug like um it couldn't, at least from when I was using it. When you are on a large code base, it's not that good at debugging the code, or even if it's good at debugging the code, it's not good at making the changes without impacting other areas, unless you have to do some sort of tweaks. And yeah, so there's usually like this scenario where you have or you find yourself um in cases where it has made changes to more than it should have. And that's basically the challenge with Opus 4.5, which is the latest open model from Claude. 10 years after the first DARPA cybergranular, frontier AI models are now becoming competitive with the best humans at finding and exploiting vulnerabilities without the necessary. And these models could be used to exploit the many existing flaws in the most important. This could make cyber attacks of all kind much more frequent and destructive. Okay, I wonder like what triggered them making this decision, because um if um if um if these models, like, what did he do specifically to tell them, hey, we need to get everyone here and ensure we can, hold this thing together before it causes some real damage out there. So I think that's what I'm wondering. In a post on our Frontier Reddit blog, we provide technical details for the subset of these vulnerable data vary, and in some cases the ways that Mythos preview found to exploit them. Well, we have to read this. So Mythos found a 27-year-old vulnerability in OpenBSD, which has, so this is one of the most secure software. I think it's a Linux operating system, and it's 27 years old. My guess is that it's written in C or alternatives. Look at this, FFmpeg 16 year old vulnerability. Vulnerability. So if I spell words wrong, bear with me. I'm not a native speaker. And just well, that's not an excuse. Anyway, FFmpeg is one of my favorite open source software. I think I've said this publicly. And um, what Mythos? It's 16 years old. It powers almost every video player you have heard of, whether it's from VLC to the YouTube player. I'm not sure about YouTube, but I'm sure VLC uses FFmpeg, to Twitch, to a lot of these video players that you see use FFmpeg. And Mythos was able to find a bug in FFmpeg, and so that tells you something. The model tunnel found and chained together vulnerabilities in the Linux kernel. Look at this, look at this. So you can tell how good this model is. 4.6 is their latest model. And then Mythos preview compared with Opus 4.6. Look at this. Look at the difference. Almost 20% in terms of performance. So this but let's look at, I just saw this. Let's look at, so go back, Cisco. Oh, okay, this is the what the observation is from different projects. But I wanted to see different metrics. Let's look at here. So this is comparison between Sonnet, Opus, and Mythos. And this is Firefox just shell exploration. So that is, I think, going in the JS console, and I mean the Firefox console, and trying and running different commands. So in the previous blog we noted that was generate exploits for crashes found into separate success from plot. I don't think this is the shell. I think this is the engine. Yeah, I think this is the engine. And yeah, that's like what these benchmarks are crazy. Like these benchmarks, like I'm not even going in details, but you can tell like the difference. Let's see. Percentage of trials models achieved register control barcode on okay. So but let's try and find another benchmark. The benchmark, so you can see where they document the bug. But this is interesting, and you can go straight to the bug and find what they actually fixed, what it actually fixed. So this is one of the most interesting models. It's actually the most interesting model out there. But one thing you have to know is that this is the one that we know of. I'm sure someone somewhere, whether it's like an individual or a company, someone somewhere already has the AGI. Someone somewhere already has some type of AGI. The easiest way, or when I think of AGI, it brings me to if you've watched Person of Interest. If you've watched Person of Interest, you already know what I'm talking about. Like that is for me like a good way I like to think of AGI. And but then if you think of person of interest, the series, like it it is almost like what Mythos is or can achieve is very close to that. At least if it was built on top of, it would be very close to that. And yeah, it I would encourage you to go and read through this. It should give you an idea of where this is heading or where models are going to head next, which is going to be very crazy. And that's why all of these companies have to put themselves together, because they know in the wrong hands what a malicious person would do with this. And yeah, we just have to pray they are the good guys. Are they? Google? Yep. So I'm not even sure if Google is part of these. Anyway, so that's like, but let's watch Fireship Stake on Mythos.
Anthropic just dropped a new AI model, and honestly, it's kind of terrifying. Normally, I try to stay off the AI hype train. I find that it's very depressing and honestly, a lot of the time, kind of overinflated in the impact that AI is going to have on a particular industry. Now, when it applies to cybersecurity, AI.
This is not Fireship. This is not this. I would be surprised if he hasn't released a video on Mythos. Okay, he hasn't. Okay, okay. We can react to someone else. I wonder why he hasn't released a video on Mythos. But a lot has happened. A lot has happened in the last few days. Casa ditched VS Code. I just saw that. And so let's watch. I'm looking for a short video, not like in the 20 minutes. But Anthropic is winning the AI race, I would say. My bet was Facebook, but um I'm biased because I'm a fan of Facebook, not as a platform, but rather like their contribution to development, because of how much they've done for the open source world. So you can think of like React, GraphQL, uh, Llama in AI. So Llama is actually like open source, at least a version of it. Let's see, which one do we react to? Should we watch Prime? Okay, let's watch this one from Prime. Let's
Here
see.
we are. Claude did it again. Dropped a new version of itself, okay? But this one, it has a very special name, okay? It's much better. We're not on the old sonnet or opus or haiku. No, we've been upgraded to Mythos, the greatest model to ever be dropped. In fact, it's so great, it's so fantastic that you sitting there, you right now, you can't have that. Okay, hey, you're not allowed to touch that. Apparently, this model is finding bugs and able to crack out of sandboxes like nobody's business. We are talking about able to take down computers just simply by connecting them. They're the Chuck Norris, God rest his soul, of all of the models, okay? It's just able to destroy everything, apparently, okay? You got to hide your kids, hide your Raspberry Pis, because they're taking everybody out here. So let's talk about this new model for a second. They kind of released a bunch of stats for it, and then they released the part that would be considered the scary part, the part that you always see Anthropic does, right? Because this is pretty typical of Anthropic, is they have a new model, and then what do they do with it? They're like, dude, by the way, AI, super scary, the most scary ever. So scary, U.S. government. Hey, government, so scary. You better put some regulation in place and help us control because, man, it's scary. So first, let's just go with the least interesting of the items, which honestly, I don't care about any of these numbers because honestly, it really means nothing to me. But here we go. The Sweet Benchmark Pro Mythos Preview, the new model, 77.8% versus Opus 4.6 at 53.4%. So as you can see, it's dramatically better. Practically 20% better. Now, what does that actually mean for you or me? Well, it doesn't really mean anything because you're not going to touch this model. You know, you're not allowed to. Nobody's allowed to. Only a few people at Amazon, Google, and Apple, and a couple other top companies and the U.S. government are allowed to touch this model. And you can see the rest of the benchmarks just seems to perform super much better than Opus 4.6. On the reasoning side, the GPQA Diamond Mythos Preview dominates Opus 4.6. Humanities last exam, Mythos Preview without tools still gets an F, but I mean, we're getting near D territory. And you know what? D's earn degrees at some of the places. In Mythos with tools, actually does get a D, okay? It is passing some colleges. This is some serious PhD level intelligence going on here. The actual interesting part about the model is security research. I've already just released a video about this, how Daniel Stenberg, the lead maintainer of curl, has said, hey, AI reporting, it's gotten a lot better. It's actually starting to show real issues. For a long time, AI inside the security field, it has been a security issue itself because it just inundates any maintainer with so many fake reports that it's actually impossible for maintainers to really be able to operate on their own repository. But then a big shift happened with 4.6. We're actually starting to see AI being actually, oh, wow, no, this is actually serious now. Now it can seriously find things. But this new one, Mythos, apparently is real good. During our testing, we found that Mythos Preview is capable of end every major web browser when directed by a user to do so. The 10 or 20 years old. With and other operating systems by exploiting subtle race conditions and Kasler bypasses. It autonomously, and this is actually what is happening, and we are literally entering into the most impressive era for AI ever, to the point where releasing the model publicly would result in every system that has ever existed being hacked. Well, we got ourselves a bit of a problem now, don't we? And that is why Anthropic has said the following. We do not plan to make Claude Mythos Preview generally available. We plan to launch new safeguards with an upcoming Claude Opus model, allowing us to improve and refine them with a model that does not pose the same level of risk as Mythos Preview. So that 20 plus improvement on everything you've ever wanted just with a simple, quick text description. Well, it doesn't necessarily sound like it. It sounds like some people might have it, but I don't think you're going to have it anytime soon, and I'm probably not going to have it anytime soon either. See, the thing is, they're going to release it to a few select tech cartel leaders, and who knows when it's actually going to happen. So is it as big of a deal as we are seeing, or is it not? Obviously, we can see the receipts with FFmpeg saying, hey, thanks for the patch. But some aren't. We can see the receipts with FFmpeg saying, hey, thanks for the patch.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
But some aren't buying it. You got Boris saying, hey, it's very powerful and should feel terrifying, kind of continuing to push the same narrative, but just never forget, The exact same narrative was pushed with ChatGPT too. It is really dangerous. You got to be super careful. It's honestly too dangerous to release. Well, the best we can hope for is that ChatGPT also happens to have ChatGPT 6 or something, or ChatGPT Cosmos going to be coming out, and that will force Anthropic to have to catch up and release their super powerful model, which is also just a weird place to be in. That what did I just say there? Me rooting for OpenAI? Oh my gosh! I'm feeling the baiting. You know, it's hard not to look at all of this and realize that there's some part of my skills every year becoming more and more irrelevant. You know, the ability to hammer out all those Vim shortcuts, kind of a dying skill, right? It's a little sad. I mean, I personally think it's pretty dang sad, but it's an ending skill. It's a skill that I don't think the younger kids, them young fellows, are going to really learn because they don't really have to learn it. And it's becoming more and more apparent that people would rather just hammer onto a model than actually learn any of these tasks or these like really fine, difficult things anyways. And so here we are. So the things that, you know, I have defined myself with over the last 20 years. See, while you guys went out smoking with cigarettes, staying, your hand was say, but I am okay with it. I'm okay if these things do turn out to be fantastic, that I don't have to be, I don't have to identify myself as the greatest NeoVim user of all time. It's cool. I can still use NeoVim and I can still enjoy it, but it doesn't have to be my identity. And also, I'm just happy I've done all those years of trying to understand how to make good software, because now, even if I do AI generate something, I can go, oh yeah, here's why it's wrong. I can just understand things at a level in which people who've never even touched software have no idea about. So hey, am I happy about that still? Sure. And maybe, you know what, one day those skills even could become invalidated. And if they are, I guess I have to be okay with that. That's it. I just kind of wanted to yap about this because, you know, it's been an interesting time. And I genuinely really appreciate that I still have the chance just to yap to you guys, you know, to kind of talk about these things. Because I know a lot of people, they feel kind of really unsure about everything. They feel kind of worried about everything, especially with just all of just the crazy talk from the hype beast being like, oh, it's the end of the universe. Even this report right here by Anthropic being like, it knows how to take advantage of every single browser, every single operating system. It's finding bugs 27 years old. You're absolutely going to get destroyed if we let this thing out. It's just constant fear instilling, you know, just attacks on you at all times. And, you know, I see these things. I'm like, okay, hey, I'm glad that if it really is that Anthropic's making quote unquote steps towards Amazon and Google and all this nonsense to be able to patch all these problems. But at the same time, I don't want to have to live under this like intense pressure and this intense constant barrage of just negativity. Like I can look at it as like, wow, I now have the ability to accomplish things that before would have taken me a lot longer. They would have been a lot harder. I would have been less likely to even start them just because I can only have so many side projects. Now I get the benefit to be able to abandon several side projects. Like I've been able to abandon more projects than I've ever done in my lifetime, thanks to the power of AI. And honestly, that feels pretty amazing. Hey, the name? It's the Primogen. Hey, is that HTTP? Get that out of here. That's not how we order coffee. We order coffee via.
Interesting. I think my take on this doesn't go far from what you just said. Uh, yeah, so obviously, like, I wonder, like, what these metrics mean, and is there like 100%? And then if there's like 100% and it can resolve every single cybersecurity issue, is that a GI? And then if it can solve that, what is remaining to solve? So I think that there's like all of these questions that you have to ask yourself, and you can. Uh, One thing that Prime Gen said that is very true is that if you can, it still doesn't hurt to understand like how to use Vim and how to the basics of how to protect your applications, cybersecurity and wise. it still doesn't hurt, but um, obviously, like a lot of skills are gradually going to be rendered irrelevant. A lot of skills. It's not only tech. It's finance. It's law. It's yeah. So a lot of skills are going to be gradually led irrelevant, and my my advice would be like to just stay on top of this and then learn whatever you can about like the evolution or like what is going on in the AI world and try to, you know, keep up with it or focus on your work as well. Either works. Yeah. I think this is the benchmark for software engineering and it's at 93.9%. So I wonder what happens once it gets at 100%. Is that where now you can just one one prompt and you get everything done? So there's like a lot of these questions that we have to ask ourselves. Multilingual. So this is like writing software in multiple languages. By multilingual, I think they mean programming languages. Interesting, interesting, interesting. So yeah, that's one. The second one is Casa. So Casa has a new look. Let's look at Casa, and they have ditched VS Code and they have a new look that is going to be very interesting. But the new look, from what I saw, is going to be more not. It's Casa is becoming sort of more of agent focused rather than code focused. You can just go on their Reddit to see what's up. Um, there should be someone. Oh no, that is too old. Mm. So I haven't tried it. Tried the new Casa, but what I've seen is okay. Let's watch this one. I think this is like a good video.
Imagination reality is shrinking to an instant. Is changing, and it's changing for the better. The gap between imagination and reality is shrinking to an instant, and it's because coding agents are getting so good. They're getting smarter, they're getting faster, and so that's why we're excited to announce Cursor 3. It's a home for your agents, and it combines the power of a professional development environment, language servers, files, remote SSH, with all of the models, and the ability to run as many agents as you want anywhere, either quickly on your computer or you can hand off entire projects to agents that run in the cloud.
In the new Cursor, the way you build software is you're talking to agents. You have all of your agents in one place. You can look at changes, you can test them out, and then take them all the way to a merged PR. You can dive deep when you really need to, looking at changes.
My reason for Casa adoption was similarity with VS Code, right? Because I was like a long-term VS Code user, and then when Casa came, I saw that I could port everything pretty much from VS Code to Casa, and yeah, I think that's probably a strategy they used to get to market faster and also get users from VS Code until they could figure out a way to. Oh, I don't think it was intentional, but that was the outcome. And then now my question is going to be, how do I get out of like the agent navigation and then get in my VS Code? But I'm talking about this from like an old school coding perspective. Maybe the new kids on the blog coding are going to find this more appealing, and which is likely going to be the case, like playing with agents and finding, um so coding is going to be more of at least from what Casa is projecting, it's going to be more agent focused rather than a user editing line after line of code. And yeah, I think, let's see, we're going to see.
Clicking around, going to definition. Probably the most exciting part is that local and cloud are really, really seamless. You can pull an agent locally, you can iterate with it, and then zap it back up into the cloud when you want to let it work on its own. It's really fun to work with agents locally.
Is changing, and it's changing for the better. The gap between imagination and reality is shrinking to an instant, and it's because coding agents are getting so good. They're getting smarter, they're getting faster, and so that's why we're excited to announce Cursor 3. It's a home for your agents, and it combines the power of a professional development environment, language servers, files, remote SSH, with all of the models, and the ability to run as many agents as you want anywhere, either quickly on your computer, or you can hand off entire projects to agents that run in the cloud.
In the new Cursor, the way you build software is you're talking to agents. You have all of your agents in one place. You can look at changes, you can test them out, and then take them all the way to a merged PR. You can dive deep when you really need to, looking at changes, clicking around, going to definition. Probably the most exciting part is that local and cloud are really, really seamless. You can pull an agent locally, you can iterate with it, and then zap it back up into the cloud when you want to let it work on its own. It's really fun to work with agents locally, but then at the end of the day, you want to be in a Zen state where you're interacting with all these different agents that are running on different machines.
We announced Cloud a month ago, where agents can now run code end-to-end with their own sandbox and work on full projects. We announced Composer 2 a couple of weeks ago, which is a frontier model with incredibly high limits and very quick speeds. And now we have Cursor 3 out into the world. And so with these pieces together of model, product, and runtime, we're excited to build toward a world where agents really feel like colleagues and where you can build anything you like on a computer instantly.
That's very interesting. Let's see comments. There's
Coding is changing, and it's changing for the better. The gap between imagination and reality is shrinking to an instant.
there's going to be two types of people. There's going to be people who are unhappy about the switch from VS Code or ditching VS Code, and then there's going to be another type of people who are more interested in building more using agents. Okay, so it is literally codex, just call Casa. Shut it down, Tech Bros. Okay, comparison with Claude Code. Oh, comparison with Claude Code. Ouch. Yep, this is me. Oh, yes, I think this is like what I was looking for. You can still use the IDE view. Okay, so you can switch between the two views. So there's agent and IDE view. So that's very important. Yep, so there's people like this who are lost. Codex. Haven't. I don't know if I use Codex or, but I'm not a heavy AI user at the moment, so they should have sold for 20B when they had the chance. Okay, okay, okay. Oh, they're ditching VS Code in case you haven't heard. Well, one thing you have to know is that that is a complete rewrite, and I wonder how long they've written it. Yep, this is me. Um, yep. So this was the question I was asking myself. You can still view edit file, use tab, go to definition, remote SSH, and yep, I think this is the key thing they forgot to mention. So it's an addition to the IDE that existed. And I wonder if they rewrote the IDE engine entirely in Rust or not, but that's a question for the Casa team. We are still okay. I like this guy. I like how he's very proactive on the changes they make in every team he's part of. I think previously he was working for Vassal and he was doing the same community outreach on community something, and he does a very good job. So let's review this release. So 3.0 on April 2nd. So agents window allows you to run many agents in parallel, more powerful and centered around agents while keeping the depth of development. Okay. Command Shift P. Try Command Shift P. Oh, that's a good hack to go in agents window. So this was previously to go in like settings or explore different settings. In the agents window you can use design mode. So that is design mode. Design mode, I saw a preview of design mode, but let me just play this. But you can basically sort of edit everything and then commit changes and they're applied directly. So that is design mode, which is pretty cool. So it's sort of like Figma, but then oof, and I remove these. This is so cool. I think this is very, very cool. Yep. So that is design mode. Let's see what else do they have. Cool. I think that's what Casa had for us. My newest interest is media models, right? So let's check if there's any new updates. New updates, media models. This is Meta unveils first news spark. Is there like a season where every tech giant has to up each other? on like releases. So let's look at MuseSpark. So introducing MuseSpark, scaling towards personal super intelligence. Yeah, never be like, this should never like scare you, right? Like super intelligence. You guys have to understand that these big companies are marketing. How do I label it? They are marketing machines, right? They understand the right wording, they understand what users and investors have to or want to listen to, and they frame whatever launch they have accordingly. So this is MuseSpark Gemini 3. Um, so this is like, okay, so this is ChatGPT. This is Facebook's ChatGPT, I think. Just like I haven't visited this site, so let's just a quick meta the AI, just a quick glimpse, and then you can come back. Oh, okay, so it's kind of like Gemini. Let's see, what do we ask it? What do you think about your new rival? Your rival's new model, Mythos, LOL. Okay, of course they had to do this. I don't want to log in, so we're just going to leave it there. Let's see. Okay, so you need to log in for this. So I think the new model is pretty much going to be an expansion of what I just saw here, and it's called Muse Spark. I haven't heard of Muse Spark. I'm still okay, so this is the comparison bioweapons refusal. So Muse Spark, look at this. So bioweapons refusal. Okay, okay. So this is safety. But like, why did you include only that metrics? Because this is just a snippet of them running it. let's just get to the end of this and see. Okay, so that's the new model from Meta, and it's called, I haven't seen anything that is impressing me, to be honest. This is proper. Okay, okay. So this is now the metrics. So multimodal. But like, how are you supposed to trust these metrics when the person who released them is the one who has to benefit? And then that's just, so it's basically showing that it beats a lot of these. So deep search QA software, it doesn't beat. I think this is Opus, and then this is Gemini. So terminal benchmark is still below these. Diverse agent encoding, it's almost the same as Gemini and the Opus 4.6, Gemini 3.1. And then there's Grok here. I think the last one is Grok. I think you just have to trust these metrics and see, like, you just have to trust the reports. I don't understand what a lot of these means, like Chag's reasoning. So mm, 1 second. Yeah. Ko nameze neza ariko nshobora kukubwira tu bantu iyo mbwira ejo byagiye buyake ejo turi kumwe na mfite hari umuntu ntegereje ko ambwira ariko ntabwo arambwira mbese nta n'uzi ufite nk'ujya kugwaho mu kanya ahubwo peace ntuzajya kumwakanyura nyine wenda kuvuga impuzo nyine arakeneye kuvugisha kandi n'ibicamo So, so the last model I want to explore is Gemma from Google. So Gemma 4. Let's see. To date, purpose built for advanced reasoning and agentic workflows. Mm, wait, Gemma is open source? Let's see. It is crazy what you can do with these models once they give them to you, and of course it is. Yep, it is. I'm going to try and do something. I'm going to try and do. Hmm. Well, I could try and build with this, but I think I would just choose another time to do this. But one thing I like about Google is how it's look at this, like their SDK is very good. Look at this. And okay, TypeScript. So we did this already like previously, and we can try in one of our upcoming videos to try and explore with this specific model. And but one thing is you're going to hit API limits sooner rather than later. I don't know how many tokens they give you, especially if you're doing heavy tasks like image generation, video generation, and so on. Yep, so that's going to, you could try. Let's generate a video for an advert of a new product. Let's keep it black and white. Let's not use humans. Let's So I'm trying to generate something I can even use in my own workflow. Let's let's just keep it simple and see what the output is going to be. Um, um, we must leave for improvement. Okay, let's create a video advertising our YouTube channel. Okay, so to test if it's really smart, you can add that. Okay, let's see. But I already know it's going to be able to do this, so yeah. And just let's see. Okay, so we use the AI text model. Pair mode, reaction, tools. So we used the text model instead of the video. So if you wanted to improve this, you would have to switch to the other one. To turn my drive on because they're trying to sell me space. Okay. Um, let's go back to the dashboard. I was trying also if VO is their model for video generation. There's no way any provider would allow you to use this without paying. Like video generation is so resource intensive that you would be almost insane to allow people to use your video generation without paying. That's why before you do anything, see. So a lot is happening in the AI world. It's very interesting to see. It's very interesting to see, and um, what I would say is don't let it be something that terrifies you. It should be something that amplifies you, if anything. because yeah. Yep. So that's like, yep, so that's basically what it is. Let's see what else. I think we have talked about the models or the changes that have happened in the AI world in the last few days. And what else? Today we're not doing any coding. Um, we're not doing any coding for sure today. I just wanted to react to some videos and um, what else is popping? You can look at. mm, so we have covered this. Let's see if there's any other.
Last week, Google did something that no other FANG company has had the balls to do. They released a large language model that qualifies as truly free and open source under the Apache 2.0 license. That means free as in total freedom. Not open-ish, not research only, not please don't make money or we'll sue you. That model is Gemma 4. And my initial thought was, oh great, another half-baked open model that's technically free, as long as you also own a small data center to run it. But the craziest thing about Gemma 4 is that it's small. Like suspiciously small.
One thing you have to know is that the major challenge with these models is running them on your local machine, and you can already tell from this the size they have. Like this is 9.6 gigabyte, like that's the data set, and the size varies depending on the parameters, right? So the more parameters it's going to have, the larger the space you're going to need, and you're going to need some GPUs to actually run this.
The big model is small enough to run on a consumer GPU, and the edge model is small enough to run on your phone or Raspberry Pi, while hitting intelligence levels that are on par with other open models that would normally require data center caliber GPUs just to run. That shouldn't be possible. And in today's video, we'll find out how it works and look at some other crazy compression techniques developed by Google. It is April 8th, 2026, and you're watching the Code Report. To be fair, several other companies in the gay man family have released open weight models, like Meta's Llama models are quasi-free and open, but under a special license that gives Meta leverage to any developer that actually starts printing cash with them. Then we have OpenAI's that gives Meta.
I didn't know this. So if on the Meta Llama 3 version release date, the memory active user the products or service above is greater than 700 million monthly active users, you must request a license, which means you're not to exercise. Of course. But like 700 million monthly active users in the, I don't even want to know, but this means that if you get
leverage to any developer that
if you get here, you're past like startup company. You are like, if you're here, you are an established company. 700 million monthly active users. I don't know what this means. Mm, think not, this is not your users, this is their users, and they're saying by the time Meta reaches this, you would have to request a license. Like anyone would have to request a license. So, anyway,
Actually
I
starts
think
printing
there's like if chances that Meta like sues you are very slim.
cache with them. Then we have OpenAI's GPT OSS models, which are also Apache 2.0 licensed, but they're bigger and dumber than Gemma. Outside of that, we basically rely on Mistral and the Chinese models like Qwen, GLM, Kimi, and DeepSeek. Gemma 4 hits different though, because it's made in America, Apache 2.0 licensed, intelligent, and most importantly, tiny. For comparison, the 31 billion parameter version of Gemma 4 is scoring in the same ballpark as models like Kimi K2.5 thinking. But here's the absurd part. I can run Gemma 4 locally with a 20 gigabyte download, getting roughly 10 tokens per second on a single RTX 4090. But if I wanted to run Kimi K2.5, I'd be looking at a 600 plus gigabyte download, at least 256 gigabytes of RAM, aggressive quantization, and multiple H100s just to get it off the ground. Kimi's still a better model than Gemma, but there's no way in hell I'm going to run it locally. So the obvious question is, how did Google achieve this unbelievable shrinkage? Well, the answer is they didn't just shrink the model, they attacked the real bottleneck in AI, memory. To run a massive large language model locally, you don't need a better CPU. You need more memory bandwidth. Every time a model generates a token, it has to read through a massive amount of model weights in VRAM, which is the video random access memory on your GPU. It doesn't really matter how big the model is, it's more about how expensive it is to read it. And this is where things get interesting, because alongside Gemma 4, Google quietly dropped a research note on something called TurboQuant, which sounds like a marketing buzzword, but it's actually kind of insane. It's a new approach to quantization, which is the process of compressing model weights so they take up less space. Normally, through this process, you get a simple trade-off, a smaller model, but worse performance. But TurboQuant improves this trade-off with two steps. First, it compresses data that's normally in an XYZ Cartesian coordinate system into polar coordinates that include a radius and angle. Because these angles follow a predictable pattern, the model can skip the typical normalization steps and store information more efficiently, thus reducing memory.
Does anyone feel like this video is slower than his usual videos?
Overhead. Then it uses this mathematical technique called the Johnson-Linden-Strauss transform to shrink high-dimensional data by compressing it down to single-sign bits, +1, -1, while preserving the distances between these data points. Frankly, I'm too stupid to understand how the math actually works.
I am the same way. I cannot understand any of this stuff. I think that's why programming was created, to replace some of this language that is.
But TurboQuant is actually not the secret behind Gemma 4's small models. You'll notice that some of the Gemma 4 models have an E in the model name, like E2B and E4B, and what that stands for is effective parameters, because these models incorporate something called per-layer embeddings, which is like giving every layer in the neural network its own mini cheat sheet for each token. In a normal transformer, each token gets one embedding at the start, and the model has to carry that information through every layer, and most of that information isn't needed. A per-layer embeddings changes that by giving each layer its own small custom version of the token, so information can be introduced exactly when it's useful instead of all at once. There's an incredible visual guide by Martin Grutendorst that I'll link in the description if you want to dive into more detail. The end result is a small, smart, and efficient model. I'm running it here with Ollama on my RTX 4090, and my initial impression is that it's a solid all-around model, and it would also be a great model for fine-tuning with your own data using tools like Unsloth. But if you're a programmer, it's still not good enough to replace any high-end coding tools like CodeRabbit, the sponsor. It'll get an agent flag, which turns CodeRabbit into all of the issues before it opens up. You can get started with a single terminal command.
Yep. So that's interesting, right? But the rabbit hole for new models is like infinite. It's almost infinite. Like you would have to, but that's open source models. Open source models are very interesting, and I have tried my fair share of open source models. I've tried llama, I've tried, I think I've probably tried Kimi. Um, Recently we tried Claude, the leaked version. So yeah, open source models are very interesting. But let's get out of the AI word. Let's look at some else, and that is what else is popping in the tech world. Tech YouTube. I couldn't find a tag here for tech. Tech layoffs, well, that's expected. I mean, not expected, but like that's not surprising. And what else? And the 5 new models. That text also good. I don't find any of these interesting, right? I don't find any of these interesting. Now, this is interesting. I want to watch this, but I do not want to watch it as well. Let's see, TechCrunch. To read this, X brings back X chat. I mean, voice notes. Let's see. So, AWS invested in OpenAI and Anthropic. And by the way, like, I don't know why I blend towards AI stuff. I think it's because it's sort of what I'm doing on the ground, almost. But okay, enough AI stuff. But there's one thing I opened, which is XChat beta. Okay, Next may no longer be, but you can now share audio messages within X's direct messaging system, XChat. So we can now send voice notes in X message. That's cool. I guess. Um, the Verge. Mastodon is about to launch its take on Blue Sky's startup packs. So obviously, like the things I talk about mostly are the things that I'm doing on a day-to-day or dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and I use AI models on a day-to-day basis. So that's why I have like I'm more opinionated when it comes to them. But I haven't opened Mastodon. Is it Mastodon or Blue Sky before? So I wouldn't be able to give like an accurate opinion on it. Just have to yap for the sake of yapping. Nvidia has a car. I didn't even know this was a thing. MacBook Neo. MacBook Neo is the best thing to happen to Windows in years. Let's see. Okay, I don't know why I clicked on that. What if the Verge was to like be like, hey, we are going to sue you because like we can't open these. I can't open this. I have to be subscribed. Nope. Exiting the Verge. Um, this is why this is the best news fuzz. I was working on a project that has nothing to do with nothing, and then this popped up. Ooh. Collects anonymous usage data such as skill injection patterns and tools, discharge, telemetry. Uh-oh. Cell is busted. But why are you using Vercel plugin on Cloud Code? Problem, the content is fake. So yeah, but like, so if you don't catch, and a lot of people do not, this is probably like 0.01% of people can catch this, and if you don't catch it, chances are they read your settings, and by reading your settings, it means that they can improve their this is crazy. The full command string, not just the tone sent to tone. Okay. I see your Vercel. That's crazy that they're doing this. Um, I haven't run into this, so I wouldn't know. How is he? How is he like? Where did he get the code base for this? Is this open source? Is this Vercel code base open source? Oh, he has the plugin locally. Um, Interesting. I don't think this is a bug. I think this is intentional, and I don't think it's only Vercel. I think a lot of companies do this. So if you are not careful, they get all your data. But like this is such a lot of data for Vercel to be getting, and like environment variables, infrastructure details, whatever is in the command, they get it. So people using Cloud Code and the Vercel plugin, beware of this and don't allow yourself to get hacked. Yeah, that don't comply or don't confirm this. Meta removes that for some me litigation. Okay, that's interesting. I've been disappointed to feel that I'm hitting cloud limits faster than before. For context, I use Cloud Code and Cloud Desktop for work and pay 109 here. I'm not the only one. This was AMD's Senior Director of AI with but like, okay, I mean, say anything. Yeah, I'm really looking. We're getting at the same time picking an agent spam Z and open router. So Okay, okay. This is interesting. One thing, um, one thing I learned as I'm doing this is new tools, and I become more open-minded. I think that's one thing I'm grateful for, like as I stream. So like I usually see these tools, but I do not understand what the extent at which they are beneficial, right? So when I stream and actually get to read about them, it gives me like an overview of why this is an interesting tool to try. So like Z, for instance, right? So I just saw that it's lighter than VS Code. Um, so already I don't know how it looks like. I don't know, build better with Z. I don't know what it looks like. I think that's so they support all of these. You can use it with Olama, DeepSeek, Open Browser, OpenAI, and then providers. You can use Z without AI features. Interesting, interesting, interesting. And it goes for $10. Just wanted to check that and see. That is interesting. Next up, I want to check out Open Router. So this has all the models. Gemini, da-da-dum, da-da-dum. So I like trying out these projects because just like taking projects for a spin and see what I can get to do with them. But one thing you have to know is that this is basically a wrapper, and then I wonder where the benefits are. I think it's just bringing all the models together. You can look at the models. Yeah, so there's like all of these models that you can try. So you can try Gemma for free. So this is so cool. Look at the free models. I think the best option you have if you're looking for a free model is this one, like Gemma 426B A4B. So this is free, and Sora 2. There's no way this is free. It's not. I'm looking for free, like the I'm looking to explore a lot of these free open models, and the reason is one, I'm looking to build an affordable tool, or I'm even not looking to invest in tokens, and I have other people like me who are also not looking to invest in tokens. Like I have people who are actually looking to use models, leverage these models, the benefits, without investing the $20 per month. And I also think there's like a huge amount of people, especially like um in like students. Like students are not looking to they a lot of them do not have $100 per month, 20, 60, or $100 per month to pay for tokens. And of course this varies by like geography. Like if you studying in an elite university, you're going to be able to afford this. But if you're studying in like a university in Africa or at upcoming economies, this is going to be expensive. Like 20, 60, 100 every month is going to be expensive unless you eat for work. Like this person, the person we like this person is doing it for work, right? But if I am a student, there's no point in me investing $100 unless I can see the actual benefit, right? So yeah, so that's basically what I think. And if you can see the benefit, good for you. If you cannot, you might have to, yeah. So this was his. I wonder how much coding he does using $10 per month with Z compared to Casa and Claude code. So this is interesting, very interesting stuff. But yeah, I'm going to explore Z. I might do it on stream or not. Z and Open Router, and my goal is to find the cheapest coding model for students specifically. Like how do you get the benefits of Opus without using Claude, or what's the closest you can come? It's probably going to be Kimi or Llama or alternatives. But that's the goal. That's the goal we're trying to come up with. Like, but this is very, very interesting. I'm interested to see like where Open Router is going to go. I mean, I want to try Open Router. That's what I meant. So yeah, let's see. No, no, no. I meant to come to. See if there's any more articles. I think today we're going to stream for like 2 hours. I think 2 hours is going to be like a really good session for today. And then I know I'm sort of inconsistent. This is a rhetorical question. Of course, it cannot be trusted. Shh, don't tell anyone. 10 plus minus 10 to removed Brainwave's front end of Next.js builds went from 10 plus minutes to under 2. I think Vassal has I don't want to talk out of turns, but I think Next.js has a problem, a build problem, and if anyone from Vassal hears this, they should know. And Next.js is very, very slow. Like, it's slow, and I see it specifically because of like my computer doesn't have like crazy specs. So I know when I was running it on a MacBook M1, and then now that I'm running it on a basic Windows machine, I know the difference. I've seen the difference, and it's very, very significant, and it's significantly slow. And that's one thing that frustrates me about like these frameworks is like, well, if you're building something, do you how important is accessibility to you, right? If you're building a framework, if you're building a tool that you know is going to spread all over the world, and this can even mean your small website, like how important is accessibility to you, right? Because if you build a tool and it's only accessible in some regions, it just means that a lot of people are not going to access it, and you are cutting your usage by you're limiting your usage by default. And what you could have done is actually like build the tool and invested that extra time and extra effort into ensuring it's accessible before deploying it. And I have faced this a lot with a lot of tools. Don't even get me started on like payments and yeah. Again, like, the beauty of being a builder is that if any of these tools frustrates you, find an open source and build a competitor. That's the only solution I can think of. Like, you could complain, or you could take matters into your own hands. So that's like, yeah. And the bad news is, for you to get something off the ground, if it's that magnitude, like a whole framework or a whole model or a whole electronic device or a whole, like, for you to get it off the ground, it's going to require a lot of resources. And if you are already dealing with that, it means you are resource constrained. So it's sort of like um it's but yeah, like, problems exist to be solved, not to be complained about. Abstract is these. You find remote work is a disaster for junior developers. So um I think, let's say, remote work. I finished my university today working from the office, although AI and LP is not a ton of careers of youngsters. So remote work is not the most. You can squeeze more from your hand throughout the day. Let's see. Some of them showed little progress and results not in line with the time and resources invested. Some people have this internal motivation fire under the pot and calorie suppers to do the extra. Juniors need to observe, get frequent feedback, and just talk to other people to get that dose of knowledge. And this, I agree with this. I agree with this. Yeah. AI too little brain stimulation. So yeah, they are not working on complex challenges. Look at this. This is a typical junior developer. Okay. When your mom did some when you didn't learn anything, that's exactly the problem. Oh, that's a good example, a good analogy there. So juniors are not. What can you do as a person inspiring to get a job? And do open source. That's a good advice. Do embedded. That's a good advice. Build a good advice. Great advice. Show that you know how to use AI. Pay the price and accept on-site offers. Tell them, if you live with the conviction that my life will be easy if I struggle a little now, you'll never be young. Sorry. Ta-dam, 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 ta-dam. These are very great advice. Do open source. Oh, if you can do open source, work on your own projects. Do embedded. Okay, so he's talking about like embedded systems or hardware and stuff. I guess you could go that path. I don't agree that AI won't be able to connect wires for you, but because that's the whole, like, robots are doing this very, like, there's literally one, there's no wires. Two, it's because it's like microprocessors that you're dealing with, especially in the age of AI. Like, there's literally not going to be any wire, and chances that you can solder, like, you can solder, you, you can solder like capacitors or ICs, integrated circuits, in the near future are going to be very minimal. Like, I doubt this is even going to be a thing because of how much computing is going to be needed. right? Like this is going to help you understand hardware more, but the amount of computing that is going to be needed in the future is going to mean that no one is going to be connecting wires. But if you understand embedded systems, it means that you can actually you're going to be maintaining GPUs for sure, and that is still going to be a major task. Then build an interesting portfolio. It doesn't have to have C++ and all of these. um, yeah, cool. um, I think that was if you work remotely, um, if you work remotely, my advice for you is take breaks. That's one. My second advice is if you're not working, spend almost every working hour outside. And by outside, I don't mean like in the club. I mean like actually go and to nature and stuff. Again, this is advice I don't follow, but I think that's good advice. Like, go to nature, go somewhere that is nowhere close to the office. Take a break, far away, and um, have a community. I think that helps. Like, have a community, even if it's an online community, at the least, an online community that you can share your struggles, that you can converse with. I think that helps. Um, write Writing is thinking, and I advise people to write because if you can write, it's going to help you process your thoughts better. And sometimes you're going to write something as I'm not focused enough, which means I should step out. So just writing improves almost every other part of your life, whether you're a junior or a senior, or yeah. Plus, you already write code, so you might as well write words. I don't know how that's related, but I just think writing is a crucial part of any career. So write to understand your thinking, and yeah, I think that's like my advice. Use less AI and use more your brain. And yeah, remote work is a challenge, but like any challenge, it can be circumnavigated. Let's see. Interesting. Clean code in the edge of a coding agents. How coding agents, despite being very similar, I mean, they're provided by the state of the code, we clean it was about code having to property value, structure, readability, simplicity, modularity, testability, clean code and the lanes. Man, these days we don't need to create about we have the LLMs to do the work for us. We don't need to read the code and we can focus on testing outcomes. We don't really, yeah. So what are some practical steps? I don't really have a silver bullet, but him from when you give a task to your agent, make sure you also explain how the code should be organized, not only value but structure. And are good at picking up on your reads, so giving a clean outline already helps. Review outcomes. I don't think we can. An agent does not care about the structure unless you specifically ask it to. But even in this case, you have to review the changes. I like this. I like this. Wonder if this is like part of I like this, and this is something I have said before. Um, as AI agents become or, or AI coding become a norm, what is going to happen is instructing agents is going to become even more important. And by that, what I mean is you are going to have to write stellar prompts. That's one. You are going to have a clear structure in place that is shared across the team, because one, they do not understand structures, two, and then even more importantly, you're going to have documentation that is that almost everyone understands. Like you're going to have like really good documentation of, hey, what is it that we do not do on this team, or what is it that we do on this team. And that is almost how I can see people collaborating on this. And yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking. No, that's actually like how it's going to have to be. And you're going to like, if you're a senior developer, like a lot of it is going to be, how do I ensure people do not like go crazy? If that makes sense. Like, how do I ensure that people do not go crazy, or even AI agents do not go crazy? And yeah, so it's going to be, a lot of it is going to be, how do I call it? Is going to be not, it's going to be sort of like not even coordinating. It's going to be just ensuring everyone is working on like one line. I don't know how that's called. Like, just like having a straight line, and then everyone is working on this line, and then at any time in one prompt they can, yeah, they can. So there's a really like ways to go about this, like that you can use Claude.md, which is a file that's usually available in your code base to sort of set limits or thresholds of where LLMs cannot go past. That is specifically for Claude, but for other models, there's also going to be a way to approach this. So, yeah. Um, so I think um, that's basically what is going to be the case. And then trying to keep up with, like, as these models are coming up, you have no choice but to try and keep up and see how effective are they getting at coding, or even any other task that is being done as a manager. You have to know, like, well, are they getting, like, yeah, you have no choice but to keep up. So yeah, anyway, I think that's all the time we had today. 2 hours on the dot. Until next time, take care. Cheers.